Good evening, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. Harry Redknapp's wife leaves hospital after a car accident. She was dragged along a Dorset road after he dropped her off at the shops.
Talking about stalking, Hampshire police lead the way in tackling the crime that affects 2 million people a year.
Also tonight, it's the job at the centre of the southern train strike. But what is the new guard role? For the first time, we speak to one worker who's doing it.
And how about this for a lesson in carving? School children in Hampshire show off their 400 perfect pumpkins. Good evening to you. The wife of former Premier League football boss Harry Redknapp has left hospital after being injured when she got her coat caught in his car and he drove off.
Sandra Redknapp was dragged along the road in Westbourne, Bournemouth, a few miles from the couple's home in Sandbanks.
Well, she's believed to be back there tonight, recovering from the ordeal. With more, Kerry Swain.
Blood staining the street marks the spot where Harry Redknapp's wife Sandra lay injured after what has been described as a freak accident. Range Rovers common in this affluent area of Bournemouth, the model of car Harry was driving when he gave his wife a lift to the shops.
This is a busy one-way street and it's difficult to find a parking space. Harry Redknapp dropped his wife off in their Range Rover and pulled away, but somehow she became trapped. There's speculation that her coat caught in the door. She was pulled over and dragged along the road.
I came out, saw Harry with his phone to his ear, bending over, and I was aware that his wife was on the floor because I recognised the red hair. She appeared to be sitting up.
What did Harry look like?
Yeah, he was on his phone when I glanced across, and he looked very concerned, really worried.
Harry and Sandra Redknapp have been married for 49 years, a devoted couple appearing together on ITV's Mr and Mrs. Sandra has been seen only recently supporting her daughter-in-law, who's competing in BBC's Strictly Come Dancing. The Redknapps are popular local celebrities. Harry, a football manager for decades. He took Portsmouth to FA Cup victory 8 years ago, manager also of Bournemouth and Southampton. One businessman in Westbourne told me that footballer Paul Gascoigne, who also lives locally, had been into his shop today expressing his concern. Sandra Redknapp spent the night in hospital, emerging today with Harry by her side, her leg in plaster, both she and her husband looking shaken. At home in Sandbanks tonight, recovering from a shocking experience for a couple, both now 69 years old. Kerry Swain, ITV News.
A fire broke out at Bournemouth and Poole College on North Road today. The building was evacuated at around 1 p.m. It's thought the fire started in the toilets. One man was treated for smoke inhalation. The fire is being treated as suspicious.
Plans for how Bournemouth's winter gardens could be transformed have been unveiled today. The £150 million redevelopment will include apartments, restaurants, shops, cafes and a car park. A planning application will be submitted next year.
It's a crime that can leave victims feeling afraid, distressed, and in the worst cases, it can escalate to attacks or murder.
Well, stalking affects 2 million people a year here in the UK. Most victims don't report the crime to police until the 100th incident. And in 80% of cases, the offender is known to the victim.
Holly Gazzard knew her attacker. Her ex-boyfriend stabbed her to death. Today, her father joined Hampshire Police as the force held the first ever conference on stalking. Sally Simmons has more.
Aged just 20 years old, Holly Gazzard, a hairdresser, was stalked, then stabbed by her former boyfriend in the salon where she worked.
After a couple of months, the relationship finished. He wouldn't take no. And eventually he went into the salon where she worked one evening and stabbed her to death.
Holly's father, Nick, was today at Hampshire's training headquarters in Netley near Southampton to share his experience with the police force leading the way in tackling stalking.
1 in 6 women, 1 in 12 men will be stalked at some point in their lives. The problem is identifying which cases will turn out to be dangerous.
Nick Gazzard says awareness of the crime has improved since his daughter's murder 2 years ago. Since Claire Burnell was shot by her ex-partner in Harvey Nichols in 2005, her mother Tricia has campaigned tirelessly to change the way police deal with stalking.
There are, tragically, people who have been stalked and have ultimately been killed by their stalkers. And I think when you look at that level of risk, you can really see the importance of dealing with it well. But alongside that, there are people whose lives have been blighted and destroyed by stalking. And it hasn't ultimately led to them being killed, but it has led to their lives just being complete misery for years on end.
The aim of today's first ever stalking conference is to encourage other police forces to adopt Hampshire's approach. By involving experts in mental health, probation and victims, it's hoped high-risk offenders can be recognised before they become violent. Obsessive behaviour is a key factor.
For me, it's that persistence of contact. Are they being relentless with it? Has it become uncomfortable for that person to receive that contact?
At present, only 1% of stalkers end up in court, but today's message couldn't be clearer. Don't wait till it's too late. Sally Simmons, ITV News, Southampton.
Well, today marks the final day of a 72-hour walkout by Southern rail workers.
As this latest strike comes to an end, the rail company announced today it was restoring 63 services from Monday to Hove, Bognor and Brighton and a full West London timetable.
But with more strikes next month and commuters saying their journeys are dangerously overcrowded, the dire situation rolls on.
Well, at the centre of the dispute, the role of guards. Today, our transport correspondent Mike Pearce spoke for the first time to one of them to see what the changes really mean.
My name's Wendy, I'm the onboard supervisor for your journey this afternoon.
Wendy is an onboard supervisor, the new job at the centre of the bitter dispute. Unlike traditional guards, they no longer close train doors. That's transferred to drivers. The RMT say they're not fully safety trained and it's better if guards check and close the doors. Southern insist it's safe and say the staff will still help in an emergency. They say there'll be no job or pay cuts. You're not closing train doors like a traditional guard. What are you doing then?
My job is basically customer service on the train. That's what I'm here for, to assist passengers with any questions they have, any inquiries they have, any onward planning for journeys.
One of the key issues at the centre of this whole dispute is safety, and the RMT saying the role is not safe. Are you safety trained? Can you deal with incidents should there be one?
Yes, I can. I have had all the appropriate safety training. I can assist the driver if we need to evacuate the train in case of an emergency. I can contact the signaller if I need to.
Do you think it is safe?
I think so.
Well, the new way of working gives Southern maximum flexibility to run a train if a second member of staff is not available. They say they will only do that in exceptional circumstances rather than cancel a train, disrupting hundreds of passengers. But the RMT say it opens the door to job cuts in the long term. New contracts for onboard supervisors have been issued to existing guards, and they'll have to accept the new role by January or face losing their jobs. The RMT will say the whole thing is unsafe and effectively it's all about cutting jobs.
It's not about cutting jobs and it is safe. We've got more people out on trains than we've ever had before. This is how we're able to put more people back on the Gatwick Express. The driver having control of the doors is completely safe. We do that on 40% of our trains at the moment.
Meanwhile, in a new development this evening, a strike planned for 2 weeks today, the 3rd of November, has been called off because of remembrance commemorations in the capital. The strike will now take place on the 4th and 5th of November. Mike Pearce, ITV News on the Brighton Main Line.
Well, still to come, will the weather forecast be music to our ears? Simon will have the details. And talking of music...
Yes, we catch up with some familiar faces from The Voice UK ahead of its launch on its new home here on ITV.
All of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian. Any views or news, call us please, 0808 1010 095, the number to ring, or get in touch via Facebook, or why not send us a tweet at ITV Meridian.
Parents in the south have paid out almost £1 million in fines this year for taking their children out of school during term time. There have been fewer fines in some places in recent months, but still a lot of parents are facing penalties.
John Platt, a father from the Isle of Wight, has been fighting his local council, which is supported by the Department for Education, ever since he was ordered to pay £60 for taking his daughter on holiday when she should have been in class.
Well, he's now waiting to hear if he has to fight it out for a final decision affecting all parents in the Supreme Court.
Well, Hampshire and West Sussex have dished out the most fines, Hampshire issuing more than 4,000 in the last year. At the other end of the table, Oxfordshire County Council issued just 69 fines.
ITV's Tonight programme is highlighting Mr Platt's case this evening, along with other parents like him. With a preview now, here's Kevin Ashford.
The school half-term break is nearly upon us, and for many that means a family holiday. But a lot of parents have been opting to take their youngsters away during term time, because holiday deals then are a lot cheaper. However, 3 years ago the government cracked down on those mums and dads. Head teachers are now expected to mark time missed as unauthorised absences, with the possibility of a £60 fine. Natasha Narjan from Surrey could be one such parent. She'll soon be off to Egypt with her family 2 days before the end of term. She doesn't yet know if she'll be fined.
It can be really difficult when you both work full-time, like my husband and I do. We both have to work around busy schedules and make quite a big decision about what's best for us so that we can enjoy some downtime once a year as a family unit.
She's not alone. In a survey for the Tonight programme, more than half the parents questioned said they had or would consider taking their children out of school to go on holiday.
We saved ourselves about £800 by taking them out a day for 1 day, so it was a no-brainer really for us.
I'd take my children out during school time. It meant going to see in-laws who live in Spain. Definitely, like, if it's going to be a bit cheaper, then yeah.
The £60 fine is kind of a drop in the ocean.
However, there are those who warn of the consequences of time away from the classroom.
I certainly think that taking one's children out of school during term time is very risky, and it could possibly harm their long-term chances of success in life. Every day of missed school does have a negative impact on a child's overall chances of success.
The penalty system was thrown into chaos after a High Court ruling in May when John Platt successfully challenged a fine he'd received for taking his daughter out of school.
If you think that your kid's attendance is really good at school and you want to take them on a family holiday, the High Court has said absolutely clearly today it's not a criminal offence.
For the time being, however, the government is standing firm. The Department of Education says the rules are perfectly clear. Children should not be taken out of school without good reason. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Isle of Wight parent John Platt seen in Kevin's report there. Earlier he dropped into our studios. John, good of you to join us. The High Court has already ruled in your favour, but it's not quite all over yet because you're waiting to hear from the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court. So it's not over yet.
No, it's not. The Supreme Court has not yet decided whether or not they're even going to hear this case. I very much hope that they decide that they're not going to hear it. But if they do, then we'll be back at the Supreme Court.
Some of our largest local authorities, Kent, Essex and Hampshire, have said since that High Court decision there have been fewer fines, but still too many, you think?
Still far too many. There have been very substantial drops in some areas, but in other areas there's actually been an increase in the number of fines, and that's not acceptable. You know, that this is one law for the whole country and everybody should be treated equally. And we can't have a situation where some local authorities are issuing none and some are issuing 5,000.
And you're still helping other parents who've had problems?
Yeah, since the High Court decision I have been inundated with messages from parents, and even on the way here today I responded to 7 messages from parents. You know, we're talking 20, 30 a day some days.
Any regrets about causing the upheaval that you have in the system? I mean, teachers say it disrupts education. You would argue it's not you that's caused the problem.
It certainly is not me who's caused the problem. You know, the legal burden on parents has always been to ensure their children attend school regularly. It's never been a criminal offence to take your children on holiday. There's never been a legal requirement for 100% attendance. Absences due to, statistics just out today, absences due to term time holidays account for 5% of overall absence, and illness is over 60%. We have to get this into proportion.
You talk about illness, all the stress and the strain of this has had its impact on you, hasn't it?
It's been incredibly stressful. Nobody wants to be on the hook. You know, the potential costs in this case are enormous. And up until very recently, that's been hanging over my head, and it's been a great, great worry. But I'm very delighted to say that the High Court has said this is unfair, this is an unfair fight. Both parties should have equality of arms. So about 10 days ago, they granted me legal aid.
You thought you were actually going to have a heart attack at one stage?
Yeah, I ended up in hospital quite recently because I had pains in my chest, turned out to be a back problem, but it was a little bit frightening.
Would you do it again? Will you be taking the kids out of school this year?
I haven't got plans to, actually. My ex-wife is taking the kids on holiday shortly, and my youngest will miss a few days of school, but she'll still end the year with 97% attendance. I haven't booked any holidays, haven't got any plans to take them out of school, but because I believe passionately that children going on holiday with their parents is good for them educationally, if I had to, I would do it again in a heartbeat. That's not, it's completely irrelevant, the saga that we've had in the past.
John Platt, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
And lots of you have been commenting on this story on our Facebook page tonight. Jade Bellamy says parents need to stop fighting with the schools, book the holidays during the 13 weeks they have off. Teachers don't spend hours in the evening planning lessons just to have children taken out of class for a holiday in Benidorm.
Meanwhile, Catherine Cartwright says it's the parents' choice. Parents have the legal rights for their children, not the schools.
Nathan Scott disagrees though. He says there is no reason to take a child out of school for a holiday. Making happy memories will not give children decent grades. And plenty more views on our Facebook page. Thank you very much for getting in touch.
And tonight, the truth about term time holidays is on ITV at 7:30 this evening.
More headlines now, and crime rose by 14% in Dorset last year. The force says changes to the way crime is recorded has contributed to the increase. They say some rises, like that of paedophile crimes, are due to better policing in this area. A special investigation team has been actively seeking out offenders.
Plans that would see 3 of our councils joining forces and getting more power from central government were dealt a blow last night after councillors on the Isle of Wight voted against the idea. Portsmouth and Southampton councils are in favour of the so-called Solent deal.
It's exactly 17.5 minutes past 6 and the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. Here's Mark Austin.
Philip Green of his knighthood. He's branded an asset stripper and a billionaire spiv and told to put his money where his mouth is. Donald Trump hints he may not accept the result of the presidential election. And thousands sign up to try to save the life of 3-year-old Ava, who needs a stem cell donor. Join Mary and me at 6:30.
We will indeed. In sports, 7,000 Southampton fans have travelled to Milan to watch their team take on Inter Milan in the Europa Cup. The match kicked off at 6 o'clock with the Saints hoping to hold on to their place at the top of Group K. They almost fell behind in the 3rd minute after a poor back pass, but the Italians weren't able to capitalise. 18 minutes gone, it's goalless. We'll have the final result in our late news.
The biggest names in music have been gathering on the red carpet for the launch of The Voice 2017.
Indeed, it starts its run here on ITV next year, back with Sir Tom Jones and will.i.am. But despite the old name, it is a new show in more ways than one, with a new format and some big changes to the coaching lineup.
Matt Price has been having a look at what we can all expect.
Global music stars on the red carpet for the launch of ITV's new show. The Voice UK has been revamped and refreshed for 2017, but one thing is unchanged: huge amounts of talent.
This is Series 6 of The Voice, but the first time it'll be shown on ITV, and despite the wet weather, hundreds of people have still turned out to catch a glimpse of their favourite coach. So guys, you having a good time?
Yeah, amazing.
Why have you turned out in the pouring rain?
Oh, because of Tom Jones and will.i.am, obviously. Tom Jones, I've got my knickers in my bag ready to photo him.
Burning down the house, can you sing it?
No.
Go on, do it!
So she'll be pleased to know that Tom is back for the blind auditions, which have now got underway.
It feels really natural when I'm there in that chair, listening to singers and giving my views and trying to help people, trying to help other singers.
Also in the big red swivel chair is will.i.am, creative, cool and definitely quirky. He knows there's no shortage of talent here in the UK.
I think it's in the water. I think something in the water that you guys drink that, you know, sprouts out soul.
This series, 2 new faces are being welcomed to ITV. Jennifer Hudson and Bush frontman Gavin Rosdale will try their hand at coaching.
All I'm going to be concentrating on is someone I could imagine who has a really long career and has a real life in music.
You know, it's that thing, you know it when you hear it, or you know it when you see it, you know what I mean? And I would feel it.
And the whole thing will be fronted by Emma Willis. For her, a new channel means a new challenge.
Nerves are good and they keep you on your toes, and it's, you know, a bit of adrenaline, and I like that, and it's my job, so I've just got to step to it.
And we'll leave you with a quick exclusive. Expect changes to the format as we previously knew it.
The chair will only turn, you only get to see the contestant if you press your button.
Wow.
So if you don't press your button, you don't get to see anything.
But don't worry, we'll get to see it all when the new series hits our screens in January. Matt Price, ITV News.
Rather closer than that. It's 11 days now until Halloween, but school children in Hampshire were treated to a woodland walk today to see just how many pumpkins they could spot.
Yes, hundreds of them have been carved by pupils and parents from Kingsworthy Primary School. It's the 4th year the school has held the event. As well as the more traditional carvings, there were cookie monsters and minions. The children told us which were their favourites.
It's like one which is covered in like fake blood with loads of eyes on it. It's really creepy.
Your favourite?
My favourite is probably a pumpkin that's a house, but it's like a hedgehog and it's like a house thingy. My favourite is probably the one with the wig over there. It's this one because it's temporary and intricate, because all the teeth, what they've done, and the eyes, they're just intricate, and it's just my favourite one.
Intricate.
I struggle with that
I
word
couldn't
as
say
well.
I can't say intricate now, and contemporary.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Very nice.
Simon's with us now. More pumpkins?
Yeah, do you know I made my first batch of pumpkin soup yesterday. It's very tasty.
Nice?
Yeah, it's lovely. Thank you. Yeah, I'll have some when I get home for my tea tonight. But have a look at this brilliant pumpkin that Roy sent in. This was from Roy in Newbury. That's Donald Trumpkin, he says. And of course, as we hurtle towards Halloween, please feel free to send in any photos of your pumpkin creations. But you were talking about the new series of The Voice. Sometimes you don't need a voice, just words. A sign says it all. Although they can be a bit confusing, as demonstrated by this one from Martin Earnshaw. Equally as confusing, the one that Gay came across whilst on holiday in Cornwall.
No parking in the car park.
Yeah, thank goodness she went on the bus. Although this sign Tony Simmons saw whilst holidaying in Cape Town would make you think twice about parking where you shouldn't. Which do you reckon would win, an elephant or a mini?
Probably the elephant.
I think you're probably right. This made Jan Wernham chuckle. Well, a maternity ward would do admissions and then deliveries in that order, wouldn't they? Yeah. You'd hope. And speaking of children, they can be a bit troublesome in a public place, although Shelley came across a crafty plan to keep them in their place at a fish market in Norway. And finally, a brilliant sign that John Bridgman Hills spotted on a loo in Chelsea.
That's true.
And don't panic, it's not just the gentlemen who are slippery, the ladies are just as bad luck. There's more on my blog if you want to have a look on the website. Otherwise, Meridian Weather at itv.com. If you spot anything that makes you chuckle, take a picture, send it to us.
We've said it before, where would you be without our lovely viewers?
Absolutely nowhere.
Absolutely nowhere, but still able to deliver a lovely weather forecast. Simon Parkin.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, you might have noticed some very clear spells through the last couple of nights, and that means there's been fun to be had with shadows. Here's a shadowy leaf sunset from Beth in Chandler's Ford, and this is very clever. This was Dawn's attempt at making the moon look like it was made of lace. Worked as well, didn't it? But certainly tonight there will be more clear spells. Bit of a breeze still, so that should help keep the temperatures up. Double figures just now, but they will start to dip underneath the clear skies. But, as I say, the breeze stays with us, so in our towns and cities we're looking at lows of around 7 or 8. In some rural spots, the usual trouble spots like Benson in Oxfordshire and Herne in Dorset, we might get down to around 2 or 3 degrees. But enough breeze to stop mist and fog from becoming too much of an issue, although there might be a bit of murk first thing. That'll burn off fairly quickly through the morning, and tomorrow, similar sort of day to today, really, and there will be a lot lot of dry weather around. We'll see plenty of sunshine. You can tell from the lighter patches, also some bits and bobs of cloud, but we still got that northerly airflow, and that means temperatures disappointing tomorrow. 11 is just 52 in Fahrenheit, and as I say, with that wind, it's going to feel even cooler than it looks. The wind, by the way, blowing at around 5 to 10 miles an hour inland, 10 to 20 along the coast and around the Isle of Wight. As for your high tide times tomorrow, well, you can see in Brighton around 3:10 in the morning, 3:30 in the afternoon, and then no change at all as we head into the weekend. High pressure staying in charge through Saturday. Sunday, we spot a slight difference in that the low pressure starts to dominate from the south, although any rain shouldn't really affect us until Monday.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And we've just got time to tell you about tomorrow night's programme, when we'll be going live over to the Spinnaker Tower. This weekend is the Great South Run, when 25,000 people will be pounding the streets of Portsmouth.
It's a great event, and Andrew Pate will be reporting from the top of the tower with some of the really inspirational stories of those people taking part.
Don't miss that. In just a moment, we have the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin and Mary Nightingale.
Sangeeta's got Hour News, always well worth a watch. Always. But for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take care.
Bye-bye.